You're listening to the Patriot Nation Podcast.
All right, welcome to another edition of the Patriot Nation Podcast, part of the CLNS podcasting community. And here we are, Matt, 1 week away from the draft. 1 week. Pretty crazy. At times felt like it was never going to come, and here we are.
Well, this is second year in a row where we've been in draft season in October instead of the usual January. So it felt even longer, but a week from now, we will know at least one future Patriot, and depending on how things go, maybe two future Patriots if they decide to move up back into the first round to make two picks.
It's pretty, I think not that it's likely, but I do see it happening.
There's a real chance.
I think that they want to move up just like they did last year, and they tried to move up last year, and they, and unfortunately they couldn't. So
takes two to tango.
Sure does. Old man Mob saying hello. What's up, sir? Man, just get us there. Get us there. That's all I'm asking for, man. Is just get us there. And I think you hear the pontifications from everyone. You hear this. Today was Ashton Genty Day. Nelson checking in as well. What's up, Nelson? Today was Ashton Genty Day on Patriots Twitter. We had basically everyone, right, saying, "Oh, they should draft Ashton Genty number 4, and he's the best player available," and blah 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 blah. I can't wrap my head around it. I know Ashton Genty's good. I'm not saying he's not good. That's not what I'm saying. I don't know. I don't get it. I don't know. I like Genty. I don't get it.
If the Patriots were picking at a different spot in the draft, I might be more okay with that. But the running back class is so deep, I think would be really hard for the Patriots to make a pick like that at this point. And he's not a Saquon level talent. He's really good. He's a tier down from Saquon. Now, if he's a Saquon level talent, I think it would be a lot more reasonable to talk yourself into this. But he's just he's an elite running back prospect. But he's just a regular elite running back prospect that, you see once every other or once every 3 drafts type of guy.
And you already have a good running back on the roster. Now, I know Ramondre Stevenson had a lot of issues last year. I'm not saying that he didn't. But are we trying to deal Ramondre's with the number 4 overall pick? Are we trying to replace Ramondre Stevenson? What are we doing? We have so many holes in the roster, and you're going to go out there and say, well, we really need to fill this hole. And it's not really.
Well, if the guy's the best player by a wide margin, again, you can talk yourself into it, but it's not. He's the same tier as the other guys, so I think it's really hard to justify a pick like that.
Yeah. By the way, we're talking about the draft, and Old Man Mob and Jermaine were going back and forth. What's up, Jermaine? Thanks for coming in. Didn't they have the trade with the Buffalo Bills? So the Bills actually had a deal with the Patriots. The Patriots had talked to the Bills about 28. Again, this is reportedly. Had talked to the Bills about 28, had something in mind. And then, unfortunately, the Bills made the move with the Chiefs instead. The Bills had a guy that they want. I think the Bills wanted Keon Coleman all along. They thought they could get him at 32. They weren't sure if they could get him at 34. And so the thought was, we'll move to 32 instead of 34 and do that. And so, unfortunately, you lost out on that. And then the Bills did move back again to 33, but it's because the Panthers wanted a different guy. So the Bills say, all right, we'll move back one more pick. What difference does it make to us? They're taking someone else. Who cares? And so the Panthers move up and they take the kid from South Carolina, for God's sakes. What's
Xavier
Legette. Yes, thank you. And of course the Bills take Keon Coleman. So, it gets to a situation where, the Patriots wanted to move to 28, but it was one of those situations where they thought they had something and then it fell through the last minute. And and I don't know who they would have drafted. I have no idea. I don't know if they would have gone with Leggett. If they would, I doubt they would have gone with Worthy. But like, I don't know if they would have gone with Leggett. I assume they wouldn't have gone Coleman because you would think that the Bills wouldn't have been interested in that if they thought they were going to move draft Coleman. But I don't know. So, or who knows? Maybe they would have taken the Tyler Guyton, the tackle from Oklahoma. So, not sure who they wanted to be at 20, but they were looking for someone, right? So, anyways.
Yeah, it doesn't. It's irrelevant now. They couldn't make the move. So
that's correct. That is correct. And unfortunately for the Patriots, they moved back instead, and that was disastrous. So is what it is. Anyways, all right. Do we? Well, before we get into your mock, do you want to talk about Colton Miller before we get into your mock?
Yeah.
I mean, to me, for those of you that didn't see it, Colton Miller is unhappy, not showing up to workouts. And supposedly the Raiders haven't had any discussions at all with him. He's in the final year of his contract. He's 29. Like, to me, this is an absolute, if he is available, which I don't know if he is or not. This feels like a situation where he leaked it because he's trying to get a new deal from the Raiders. That's, to me, seems to be the most obvious situation. Maybe they'll move him, but I can't imagine they will.
Yeah, I don't think he's on the market at all. Like, the whole we haven't heard from the Raiders is agent speak for you haven't met our demand. That's, and he knows the Raiders need him and they have a ton of cap space, and this is the time where you do that. Because you do this now if you're an agent, because if there's no world in which they'll ever meet your contract demand, then you have an out of trading and trying to get that demand met elsewhere. If you're New England, you have to make a call. Colton Miller is a quality player right now. He'd be a massive upgrade on what you have, and you could probably get him for third-round pick. So you can save your first and your second for other positions, or still invest at tackle and have, now you can go get an Armand Membo, stick him at right tackle, and sit him for a year while you have Morgan Moses there, and then reevaluate next year type of thing. Gives you some more options at that position. But like, if you're New England, you ask, but like, it's probably going to be the Raiders not wanting to move him because they probably want to sign him. Yep. So the price is going to be higher than you might want to pay. Maybe that second round pick, which I think would be a lot tougher to swallow when you're getting a guy who's 29 years old and who you're going to have to pay. Mm-hmm. And then the other part of this is we don't really know what his contract demands are. If what he's asking is something New England isn't willing to pay, he's asking for high quality starter tackle level money, and you're the Patriots sitting there like, hey, we're not going to give up a top 50 draft pick and that much money for a guy who's hitting 30, who's a quality player, but not more than just a quality player. So I think this is all just posturing, and they probably end up signing a contract. That nothing happens in the draft, and they probably sign a contract over the summer, is my guess.
Yeah. That being said, old man Mob asked, would you trade 77 and one of your fifths? I would do that in a heartbeat. Like, in a second, I would do that. Obviously,
again, assuming the contract
situation is something you'd be comfortable with. But even if the contract situation is a little bit of an overpay, I would still be willing to do it. You got tons of money. Money is not an issue. So even if you have to pay him a little bit more than you would like to, you feel like you're getting a player that's a good enough player that you feel comfortable with him at left tackle for the next 5 years, let's say. And maybe not 5, maybe the next 4 years. Even still, I feel comfortable with this guy at left tackle for the next 4 years. Sure, I'll trade 77 and a fifth round pick for that in a second. 38, that's a lot. That's a lot more difficult to swallow, like you said. I don't know if I'm giving up 38 for Colton Miller unless I'm getting back. I might consider it if it's Colton Miller and their third round pick. Now, I don't know why they would do that.
Yeah.
But like, if they're willing to, if they want a high pick for him and they're willing to give you their third round pick back, now you have 3 picks in the third round. I would probably do that. But I don't know if it really makes sense for them, to be honest with you.
Well, then I think you look at who else could be in the market, whose offer you have to beat. Right off the bat, I look at the Chiefs, obviously in the division. So you're going to know him. You're going to know his game. They need a left tackle. If you're the Chiefs, you're probably willing to give up a second because you're right at the end of the second round for them. And so if you're the Patriots and you want to beat that, it's either going to be a third plus stuff, or it's going to be a second, and then you're getting that third back, and there's going to be other stuff in the trade, and you're going to end up with 3 third-round picks this year.
Right.
Not necessarily opposed to that, but it all kind of comes down to the details. And then you're also weighing this against what you can do at pick number 4. Because the calculation is basically, Colton Miller and what he brings to your team, which is going to be top 15 left tackle level play.
Yep.
Probably. But going into his, I think, age 29 season, so he's getting older. So you don't know exactly how long he's going to sustain that play. You're going to be giving up a draft pick that'll be at least top 100, which is going to be someone who you envision has a decent probability of being someone who's going to help you out. And money that you would use to sign other players in free agency in coming years. So that's kind of the opportunity cost there against who you're getting it for, and your percentage chance that you think the guy you draft there is going to be a quality starter at left tackle. What are the odds that the tackle you take it for is going to be as good a player as Colton Miller is? And then from there, you're not getting that guy for 5. You're getting that guy for a guaranteed 5 years.
Right.
And you have the first ability to re-sign him when that comes up, which means you really, if you would like, can control the first 10 years of a guy's contract. At least the first 6 when you include the franchise tag aspect into it.
Right.
So would you rather have, risk your odds on if the player is good, but 6 years of cheap control, or 4 years of more expensive control, but it's guaranteed?
Yeah. And that's what it comes down to. If I'm the Patriots, I'm trading for Colton Miller over drafting the rookie, only because I have so many holes that if I can fill one with a trade and know that I'm getting a quality starter with it, it's not a question mark, right? And now Colton, obviously health could happen, but assuming that he doesn't get hurt, right? Like, you're looking at it saying, all right, we have someone for left tackle. We have a right tackle. We have a left tackle. Or we need a left guard still, sure. And we don't feel great about our center position. We feel okay about our center position, but not great. So, but you're shoring up one part, and then you can still draft a guy at some point to be a developmental left tackle, let's say. And so
And then
that's what I would say. And again, I think this whole thing is all moot because it doesn't matter, because they're not going to trade him anyways. But again, that to me, this is a posturing, a negotiation tactic. And almost always when we see something like this happen, it turns out that this guy signs a long-term deal with the team. Not all the time, but the vast majority of the time, that's how it works out.
I think the other part you have to look into if you're New England is the opportunity cost of who else you can take with the number 4 pick.
Yep.
Like if you don't have to take a tackle at 4 anymore, and you're able to take whoever you think the best pure prospect on the board is, maybe that still is the tackle, like I talked about before with an Armando Membu situation. But what if it's Mason Graham and you think he's the best player?
Right.
Now you're in a spot where you can, almost overnight, if Christian Barmore is healthy this year, go from having one of the worst defensive lines in football to potentially one of the best, with maybe 3 elite pass rushers on the inside who can rotate and who can stay fresh for you, which again would help with Barmore's rehab. And we know Milton Williams is a guy who played in a rotation in Philly anyway. And it's like, all right, now this is a position where that you are completely set with potentially 3 elite level, or at least very good to great level players for the next 4 years. And you can set that and forget it, which then makes your ability to generate a pass rush from the outside easier, and you're asking less of your edge players. Makes life a lot easier up the middle for your linebackers, has a cascading effect for the rest of your defense, which can make it better. And you've also still fixed left tackle in the process, at least for the short term. So I'm all in favor of this move if he's available. I just suspect it's going to be one of those things where the asking price for the Raiders is going to be way higher than it should be because they want to keep him and they have the money to do it, and it's all a leverage play.
Agreed. I agree with you. So, By the way, new person coming in. Appreciate you. Patriot Nation.
Hello.
That's right. A lot of good comments going on in the chat, and I'm with you. I agree with all of you. Nikhil, I'm with you about the fact that it's a partial movie. He's not getting moved. I agree. So, all right, let's get into your mock, Matt, and then we have a live mock to do tonight as well. So let's get into your mock draft first, though. This was posted on Pat's Pulpit. This is your final one. What, mock draft 5.0?
Yeah, this is my last one.
And I have one next
So
week, and then we're done.
Yeah, so I can kind of talk about my mindset going into this one. We talk about how we do a lot trying to, not repeat and talk about guys all around the process. On this last one, my goal was, okay, now that we know more about what the Patriots, I think, want to do and who will be available, let's look at who they've been connected to and come up with a cohesive mock that ties into guys who we know they've been at least somewhat interested in. Trying to go for a realistic mock of guys they've been connected to. So I think every single player on this mock either met with the Patriots multiple times or had a top 30 visit with the team. Again, like I said, guys that they have expressed interest in some way or another. And I will say, those top 30 visits, meetings at bowl games and all that, that's part of due diligence. It doesn't necessarily mean they're interested, It could actually mean the opposite. It could mean we don't like you that much, but there was something that came up in the film or in the character evaluation that we were curious about. So we want to have you in because we want to know for the future, if you're a free agent, how we feel about you. Or if you hit the trade market after 2 years, how we feel about you. Or if you're still on the board a round later than anyone thought, and you're the best player on our board, and we want to know how we'd want to handle that, what we want to do in that situation. So just because they meet with a guy doesn't mean that they are interested in drafting him at the draft position where people have said he should go. But at this point in the process, it's, I think, a good enough heuristic to kind of talk about some of these guys. And, I feel pretty good that at least 2 or 3 of the players in this mock are probably going to end up in New England.
You would think. So we'll see. All right, let's get into it.
Do you want me to go through it, or do you want to go through it?
It doesn't matter. Either way, it's fine.
I can. Yeah, it's my mock.
Let's do it.
I'll lead us through. First pick, it's Will Campbell. And I say outright, if I was the one making the picks, this would not be mine. I have my concerns with Will Campbell. I've talked about them on here. I went back to the film for this mock to make sure I still felt the same way, and I do. My concern with Will Campbell, the lack of length, and how narrow his frame is, both of those factors show up on the tape, where he has issues staying in front of guys, he has issues staying engaged with pass rushers. And for someone who's tested as a phenomenal athlete, I think you see him play too high at times with his pad level and too stiff, which means pass rushers can get under him. And with how narrow his frame is, he has a hard time staying in front of guys when they're fast. They can attack either shoulder aggressively and had some success there. So, he's not a bad player. He's a quality prospect. I think my concern is he's someone who isn't long enough to be a quality tackle and isn't bendy enough at the waist to be like a quality guard, and which might get stuck in between. That said, his intangibles are high. They have been matched to one another through the entire draft process. Draft insiders seem to think Will Campbell is the pick, so I am sticking with him as the pick as a predictive way, even though it's not necessarily what I would do.
I mean, it comes down to, what do they think? And frankly, if they're listening to Dante Scarnecchia, they think that arm length doesn't matter. Not in so many words, right? Arm length matters, just not as much as some people think, right? And so I think, at least according to Dante Scarnecchia, if that's what Scar believes, that's okay for me, right? He knows a hell of a lot more about playing tackle in the NFL than I do. So if he believes that he can do it, then I'm okay with him. I'm okay with them doing it, but they better be sure about it. They better be sure about it. And so, that's kind of where I'm at. I like Will Campbell a lot. I love the mentality he plays with. I love the physicality he plays with. I think that, he's a leader. I mean, it's not often that, you talk about the number 7 gets passed down to LSU for, playmakers, right? And he's wearing the patch number 7 because he can't wear number 7 because he's considered their playmaker on offense. And that's like, That just doesn't. I mean, he's a left tackle, but he's considered their playmaker on offense. And so for me, that I looked at it and said, man, I'm impressed with that. And so, I think,
I guess, yeah.
You go back and forth on it. And I mean, I don't know how I feel about him going at number 4. If they draft him at number 4, I just pray to God that he can play left tackle in the NFL.
But
we'll
if you're the Pats and you're picking at 15 this year, I would have no issue with this.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Number 4, I feel a little bit differently about it because it's
right.
I love the intangibles. Can he play in the NFL? Well, those intangibles don't matter if you're on the bench.
Right.
It's kind of my concern there. And he was a really good player as a freshman at LSU. And that's a great thing. Just not sure if we saw the progression the way we wanted, and maybe we're overthinking it. But I just on a film I see a guy who's a really good college player, and that is not necessarily a really good NFL player. So it is what it is. But and I will say, we're talking about the Scarnecchia thing. Scarnecchia's comments in terms of arm length have always been around the 34-inch threshold that gets used for players.
Yeah.
And there's kind of two. Some people say 34 inches, some say 33. Those were in discussion of the 34-inch. Campbell's right there around the 33-inch. And what I've always said is, the number doesn't necessarily matter. It's what it looks like when you're on the field.
Yep.
To me, I see a guy with short arms when I watch him play in the technique. So it's tough. And it's Will Campbell had the highest relative athletic score of any tackle in this draft. He's a very athletic dude. I just don't always feel like I see that on tape. It's weird. So maybe I'm missing something. Maybe he goes to the NFL and kills it. If he's coming to New England, I hope I'm wrong, and I hope that's the case. Should have some real skepticism here, personally.
Yeah. And again, I don't think you're wrong in feeling that way. And that's the hard part, is that you're drafting at 4, and if Hunter and Carter are both gone, then we're looking at saying, well, now what? And if the Patriots really truly believe that Will Campbell can play left tackle, they're not drafting him and saying, well, we're not sure. We'll see what happens. We'll see. Yeah. We'll see what happens. I don't love that. Also, Boss Jam points out the Scar swore that Wynn was a tackle. I don't know if I believe that. I think that Wynn
was a tackle. He played very well at tackle until he got hurt.
Well, and that's the other part of it, is that I don't necessarily want to blame Scar for Isaiah Wynn not working out. He's just injury prone, unfortunately. And so, he's a guy that played okay at left tackle. He did not move inside because of his arm length. He didn't. He moved inside because he got hurt too much and he lost some of his mobility, and he couldn't play on an island out there anymore, and so he had to move inside. And he moved inside and wasn't very good there either. So he's just
And the Pats got stuck in a weird spot there. He missed most of his first 2 years with injuries.
Right.
And then year 3, he was a really quality left tackle. I think he got hurt again, but that was the point where they had to decide if they're going to pick up that option or not. And then year 4, he comes out, and it was just pretty clear that at that point the injuries had gotten him, and he doesn't Isaiah Wynn had 33 3/8 inches, so longer, half an inch longer than what we got with Will Campbell. Still shorter than the quote unquote ideal 34-inch level,
right.
And he had a little bit shorter arms, and he made up for it with very nimble feet. So he was able to stay in front of people and keep the arm length from ever really being that much of a factor. Once the lower body went, then the upper body started to become an issue. When the lower body went, you see him move to guard. He has been inconsistent there. He hasn't been the super quality guard for New England or Miami either, because if your lower body has issues as an offensive lineman, you're going to have issues.
Right.
But that's the way it is. So the Patriots got put in an unlucky spot where they had to also decide on his contract after the best year he ever had in the NFL, and he never got back to that point. And there's nothing. If they locked him in as their starting tackle for the next 2 years at that point, not knowing that he would essentially never play at that level again, and no one knew. So that was tough. Wynn could play. Matt Light had similar arm length. He could play. You just have to. You don't have the longest arm, so you have to have another skill and another talent that can make up for that. And on paper, I think Will Campbell has that. I am not sure in the tape that I have necessarily seen it in a way that'll translate. So I'd go Membu here or Mason Graham and just say we're going to trade up from 38 and grab
Mason
Josh
Graham,
Connerly or
Mason
whoever.
Graham is shorter arms than Will Campbell, but
Yeah,
neither
which
here
I
nor
care
there.
about less for defensive tackle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to round 2 here. Why don't you set us off here with what we're doing in round 2?
Yeah, so I was actually between two different players for this pick. And I think, to me, it's a true coin flip. I think you could go either direction here, but there's two players the Patriots have met with extensively and know pretty well at two different positions who have good arguments for. The one I did not take, Texas A&M's Nick Scorton. This is somebody who might go end of the first round, might go top of the second round. I like him a lot. I actually, in like my personal draft grades that I was doing, I only have him a tick below Will Campbell in overall grade as a prospect. He is kind of a weird size to play defensive end. So like the concern is he might never be quite fit into a defensive end or outside linebacker mold. But he was productive as a pass rusher, and he has very nimble feet and he's high energy. So he has a killer spin move, and there's almost like a Rob Ninkovich to his game where it's like he's just crafty and high effort. And even though he isn't necessarily the ideal size for the position because he played at Purdue and then A&M, I don't think they quite knew what to do with him.
Mm-hmm.
He just found ways to get to the passer and be effective. I like him. I don't take him here because I want to go on offense. I'm going with Will Campbell's teammate, and that's Mason Taylor, the tight end from LSU. It's a connection through Jason Taylor, who's friends with his father's friends with Mike Vrabel. They've met with him multiple times. He is a very good receiving tight end. And something that clicked for me during the season last year, which I've talked about on here, is that Drake May likes throwing the big bodies. He likes throwing the tight ends. And I think it's easy to look at the tight end spot now and say, you got two proven veterans. You don't need to touch that spot. I look at it and say, you've got two proven veterans who are very savvy and know the position well. This is the perfect time to invest in a young player because tight end usually takes a little bit to develop, who can sit and learn with those guys and develop year 2, year 3 into a trusted safety blanket for a young quarterback. And if May likes throwing to this type of player on the field, you can give him someone that they can play together for the rest of their careers. Taylor's a very good athlete. He's a very good receiver. I believe he has the record for most yards for an LSU tight end in a career ever. Super productive. A lot to like about his profile. And I see him as someone who's going to be tight end 3 year 1. He's going to be used in spots. And by year 2, especially I think Austin Hooper's contract will be up then he emerges and takes the tight end 2 role and hopefully can be really good in that. And then by year 3, he is a full-on starting, possibly Pro Bowl caliber tight end.
Right. And that's what you're looking for. You know what I mean? That's just what you're looking for. And so we'll see what happens. But tight end is a spot that takes a while.
Yeah.
And so if tight end takes a while, then you have to draft. You can't do what the Patriots did with Gronk when Gronk left and not draft a tight end until after he's gone. It's too late. If you wait till after he's gone, it's too late. You have to draft the replacement tight end before the current tight end leaves. And so, I'd be all for it. I think Mason Taylor might be the best of the bunch after the top 2. And so that's just my personal opinion.
Yeah.
But
what
are you gonna do?
And I saw someone in the chat saying they thought this was rich for him. Right now in the consensus boards, Mason Taylor is 45. We'll see what Arif Hassan has with his consensus board coming out soon. That's kind of the gold standard for where they are. But he is seen as a high second-round pick. The Beast has him 33rd overall, so he's the type of guy who might not even be on the board at this point. But yeah, no, I think it makes a lot of sense. I will say for SB Nation, we're doing a community mock draft right now where each blog has a GM. I'm the GM for the Patriots. I went Membu at 438. I was stuck in the same spot between these same two players. I ended up taking Mason Taylor, and I got an immediate reply from the Finsider writer, Miami Dolphins writer, being upset because they were hoping he was going to be on the board so they could get him in Miami. So
Of course.
I liked that. But yeah, I think this fits a lot with what Drake May needs in the offense. And we're getting a little bit more of that later in the draft too.
Yep, I like it. All right, round 3.
Yeah, we're getting more of that right now, actually. I don't know if he's still going to be here. It's Jalen Noel from Iowa State. he is someone who, I don't know. He seems to me like a player who will end up going top 50, but a lot of the boards have him in the 60s still. It doesn't quite make sense to me. But if Jalen Noel is on the board here, I'm running this pickup. Patriots met with him multiple times. They brought him in for a top 30 visit. He is fast. He's very good at contested catches he's basically a speed slot. He's very good at contested catches for that. He's had he's had a total of 8 catches for 50 yards or more over the past 2 seasons. So he can take top off a defense. You can use him in motion and get him the ball that way. He's an all-conference special teams player as well. And I think I look at the pairing here. What the Patriots have missed for a while is someone who can take the top off a defense, who can be a game plan guy and go do that. He has ball skills. He's fast. He's a good route runner. You can get him the ball down the field. And that works with your tight ends because he's a speed slot. So on the same side of the field, you can line up him and one of your tight ends. The goal here being Mason Taylor. And all right, if they're going to try to cover that deep shot and they're going to back off defensively, you got a tight end underneath who can punish you with yards after the catch. And if they're crashing down on the tight end because he's been blowing them up, you can get a one-on-one down the field with a guy you like. And you got a quarterback with a great deep ball who should be able to find him over the top for big games. So I like the way these two come together. Again, I don't know if he's actually going to be on the board, but the Patriots seem interested. The fit is obvious. I really want him.
Yeah, I think this would be a great pick. I mean, this is what they need. That's just what they need. So, get me a wide receiver. Get me a good wide receiver. I think Jalen Noel is a really good wide receiver, and so at 69, I'm all in on that. All in on it.
And he's not an X. He's going to play in the slot, so you still have to solve that. But if Stephon Diggs is able to return to form, and this guy is who I think he can be, you're not caring as much about the X, or you're just going to play 2 tight ends. Yeah. And with Diggs and this guy, and one thing I think we actually liked about Alex Van Pelt last year was using the tight ends almost as the X receiver at points, putting them on the line of scrimmage to create a buffer for the undersized guys. And if Josh McDaniels is smart, he'll learn from that, and we'll be able to drop some of that same stuff for someone like Noel to get looks.
Yep, agreed. All right, let's move on here.
Yep, pick 77. I got Joshua Farmer. Pats brought him in for a top 30 visit as well. Defensive tackle from Florida State. The 3 technique. He's a very good athlete. He produced well for them. He's still inconsistent. His technique is all over the place right now, especially as a run defender, but as a pass rusher, he was pretty good. He was productive. His highlights are incredible. You see what he could become. Clearly, there's some, they have questions about him they want answered if they're bringing him into the building for a top 30. If that means they're interested in him, this Mike Vrabel defense, he's kind of the perfect guy to bring in as a 3rd defensive tackle behind Milton Williams and Barmore, who can be a role player for you, who can kind of fill that Daniel Ekuale role. It's just a pass rusher you're going to put out there, and you hope you can develop him and get that technique a little bit better. And by year 2, year 3, he's someone who you feel is a starter level player, and you got a really quality rotation on the inside.
Yeah, listen, I like Farmer a little bit. I like the upside that he brings. And this is one of those situations where whether it's edge or interior pass rush, they need more guys that can get after the passer and cause havoc in the backfield. And so, I want to be aggressive in the front 7. I want to be aggressive at the line of scrimmage. And I think Farmer is a guy that does that. And I am down for that. And so we'll see. But I like the pick at 77. I think it makes a ton of sense. And again, you're adding on to what's already a strength. And I think that makes a ton of sense.
Yeah. I'm curious why they're interested in him, because this is the type of player where I could see it being one of those things where they might not actually be interested in him and they're just curious about his profile and they want to learn a little bit more about him in case. But if they are interested, I think the fit makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Round 4. Another guy that Pat's met with multiple times. RJ Harvey, running back UCF. He has a very interesting journey. I don't know how much you know about his past, Pat. He was in college for 6 years. He Came to college as a quarterback, went to Virginia as a quarterback, wasn't going to get playing time there, wanted to go closer to home, transfers back to UCF to be a running back. That's 2020. It's the COVID season. They barely play any games. He's converting positions. He doesn't do anything. 2021, he tears his ACL before the season starts. He doesn't get to play a single snap. So he doesn't get to play the position that we now know him as a running back in college until 2022, what would academically be his senior season. He splits time as a running back that year, plays well, and then in the 2 years since 2023 and 2024, he has been one of the most productive running backs in all of college football. Crazy amount of yards, crazy amount of touchdowns. He's been the workhorse for UCF. He's fast. He's not a very physical back. That's why a guy like this, he's got the ACL. He's older. He's not physical. That's why he's going in the 4th round.
Mhm.
He's fast. He's quick, more importantly, and he sets up blockers well. He's balanced. He's hard to bring down. And I think he'd be a very good complement to what they have in that running back room already. And he has potential to be someone who's a true number 1 running back in an offense. He's also still not polished in the passing game at all because that's new to him. So area of development for him, total wild card, what he'll end up being.
Yeah. Listen, I'm on board. I know I didn't realize he had all that backstory. I had seen some of the film and know he's explosive. And so, I'm in, especially with then all the other backstory things. I'm in.
Yeah,
even more.
Yeah. He had literally just under 3,000 total rushing yards over the past 2 seasons.
That's great.
And he had 16 rushing touchdowns in 2023, 22 rushing touchdowns last season. So 38 rushing touchdowns over the past 2 seasons. Obviously, it's UCF, so it's not the highest level, but it's crazy production. He can play football, and that's good.
Yep.
Sometimes it's that simple.
Yep. That's the way it goes. All right, on to round 5.
5th round pick, Jonas Sanker. We talked about him in our last episode, I think, or 2 episodes ago when we talked about safeties. Safety out of Virginia, super solid football player. Been all ACC the last 2 seasons. Led his team in tackles the last 2 seasons. Was the team captain last year. Fast, but has played as a box safety. So, the kind of guy who starts in the box, and if his instincts are able to get to a level where you can play him deeper down the field, he has the athletic ability to do it. But he tackles well. He can make plays. He'll hit you hard. He's a quality football player, and obviously with a team captain, part of quality leader as well. And with safety being kind of a total question mark after this season, I like the idea of bringing him in, and Pat's met with him twice in the process.
Yeah. Listen, I like the idea of box safeties that can move, which Sanker can do, but also play. And it's so funny because I was actually thinking James Foster, which is the tweet that you tag, or the tweet that you embedded in the article, was basically saying the same thing that I was thinking, which is that he plays like a linebacker. Mm-hmm. He's has the body of a safety, and he is a safety, but he plays like a linebacker, right? He hits hard, brings the wood, as they say. And that's the type of guy that I'm cool with. And again, we know the Patriots like that. Now, again, that doesn't necessarily mean anything, right? But you have Kyle Duggar, you have Jabot Peppers, you have guys like that. And I'm a fan of that. And so again, what does that mean? I don't know, relative to anything, I suppose, doesn't necessarily mean anything, but I'm happy I'd be 100% cool with this. Again, deep safety, I think, might be a little bit more of a need for them. But if you just want to keep adding these guys in the box, almost like this, the idea that the Patriots, that the Celtics, had come up with, was that the idea of positionless basketball, right? And you're almost looking at it in playing positionless defense, right? Where you have, a bunch of safeties that play linebacker and safety. And then you have, a bunch of defensive linemen that play edge and interior defensive end. So interior defensive tackle too. So it's just an interesting, way of looking at it and running your defense. So, we'll see. But I like Sanker.
Yeah, and he has the athletic traits to take on more of a role.
Yeah.
So it gives you, some runway there if you're able to make him work. And I think he has a high enough ceiling. You look at a guy like that, if he's fast and he can tackle, we're talking about the 5th round right now. If he just ends up being a good special teams player for 4 years and you let him go, that's a fine enough result with that pick.
Yeah.
In the best case scenario, this guy turns into a starting safety for you. So I like him quite a bit. My other 5th round pick is a 171. Patriots got in the Joe Milton trade, taking an offensive lineman from Boston College. But no, not that offensive lineman from Boston College. Everyone wants Ozzie Trapillo. They've missed. The Patriots met with center Drew Kindle twice in the draft process. Fun note on him: his dad played college football, and in the NFL, his dad played at Boston College. Do you know who Boston College played when his dad was there? Ohio State. So he played against Mike Vrabel in college.
That's funny.
He then went to the NFL, and he ended up coming to the Jets.
Yep.
You know who he played against in the NFL? Mike Vrabel.
Yep.
There's a nice little connection there. He was all ACC last season. He was the team captain as the center in the Bill O'Brien scheme. So he's not the biggest guy, but he's athletic. He's quick. And he would kind of know what the Patriots would be doing already on offense. Schematically, it shouldn't be much of an adjustment for him from what they're doing with Bill O'Brien to Josh McDaniels. And it's a fit in a lot of ways. You need a center. Yeah. They've been connected to him. He isn't there's some similarity between him and what David Andrews gave you in his prime. Undersized guy who can move well and is an asset in the run and pass games because of that. So, yeah, I like him.
Yeah. Listen, you need a center. And you feel with the Bill O'Brien connection, there's going to be someone that come out of BC. Don't get mad at me, Patriots Nation. I don't love Ozzie Trapillo as a tackle. I just think he's a little stiff. I don't love it. But look, I mean, we'll see. But I don't love him at tackle. I like Drew Kendall at center a lot more. So I'm 100% on board with this pick.
Hell yeah.
Crushing the draft so far, Matt.
Thank you. Now we're to round 7. We got 2 more picks.
Mm-hmm.
One of them, we are going with Bilal Kone. It's a corner from Western Michigan. This is a name, honestly, I didn't really know that well until I was looking at guys the Patriots met with, but he met with the Patriots multiple times. 3 times, actually. Senior Bowl, Combine, and Pro Day, the Patriots talked to him. Western Michigan corner. He's tall. He's fast. He's got good hips, but he's skinny. So he's the type of guy who should be, in theory, a good man coverage corner. You don't know what he's going to be against the run. I don't know what he's going to be against physical receivers because he's thin. And one thing that gets brought up in the scouting report is that the more complex offensive looks they face would sometimes fool him. So, he might be a guy who can come in and play man coverage for you every now and then, but to be a starter, he's going to have to be mentally more with it a little bit, especially you're playing New England, you're going to be playing against Miami and what they do on offense. You got to be able to stay with some of those looks they're going to throw at you, so that'll be an issue for him. But he also had a journey coming up. He played 2 years of JUCO. He moved up for 1 year at Indiana State and then came up for 2 years at Western Michigan, led the team in passes defended over those 2 years. So he's been productive, knocking the ball away. He's got good speed. Pats clearly have some degree of interest in him.
Yeah, and listen, he's skinny, but he's not, Emmanuel Forbes skinny. 190 pounds. That's, it's okay. He's not going to be like, I don't know. I don't mind it. I'm not super familiar with Kone, but again, you're going to tell me we got a 6'1" guy that can run and has good hips. All right, I'm in. With that's pretty good ball skills. You talk about the last 2 seasons, 13 pass breakups and 2 picks in the last 2 seasons. That's pretty solid. And so, so I'm on board with that. And again, I just feel like in the last round, especially in the 7th round, I want to be taking chances. And so, that's where I'm going with.
Yeah. And I think, what do you call it? It's dream scenario, but the very ideal outcome for him is someone who you can develop as an outside corner so that when you're ready to move on from Carlton Davis, he can step into that role.
Yep.
Down the road. But like you like him as someone who can be, he can be your fifth corner this season potentially. He'll come on the field and guys get banged up and play that outside corner position if you need him to, and then you go year to year from there. So yeah, I'm gonna take a step aside from this guy's talk comment that I felt like needed to be addressed. Someone saying that none of the hate on Campbell is actual football issues. Like I feel like I'd like to correct the record here. All of the hate about Will Campbell is about football issues. No one has issues with him as a person or his intangibles. All of the issues with him are about his ability to play football at an NFL level.
Well, so there's a conversation going on. And by the way, let's try to keep it like a little bit more. We don't have to be rude. You just don't have to be rude.
Things going on in the chat tonight. I think we're ready for the draft to happen.
Like, just chill. Okay. We got a new guy in the chat tonight who's just being a little rude. And so, let's just calm down a little bit. Wingspan, I just think wingspan is 1,000% irrelevant. I don't know what wingspan has to do with anything. Wingspan has nothing to do with anything, right? You don't play tackle like this. That's not how you play tackle, right? So what difference does the wingspan mean? That means nothing to me. Arm length matters. I do believe that arm length matters. I am concerned about Will Campbell's arm length. I will say that a guy that a lot of Patriots Nation wanted the Patriots to give a large contract to and got a large contract in free agency is Larry Jackson. Larry Jackson has 32.5-inch arms. Can play left tackle in the NFL. I think can pretty clearly play left tackle in the NFL. As what was shown for for those things.
When I think the issue
that doesn't necessarily mean that it doesn't matter. I'm not saying it doesn't matter. I'm just saying that is there a chance, right? Is there a chance that, there's a situation where you look at it and say, hey, Will Campbell has enough of the other intangibles and the other things that he does well to overcome the issue that he has, which is his arm length.
Well, I think the other part of it is
we'll see.
Well, the other part, it's not his arms measure this thing, so he's bad. It's his arms measure this. Does it affect the way he plays football? If you watch him play, it does affect the way he plays football. That makes me concerned. And I don't even care. Like, I think his arms meet the threshold. I really do think the pro day number is probably the accurate one for him, and he's 33 inches, or he's just the tiniest bit under. I don't care. Like, he meets my threshold. That's fine.
Right.
The problem is that if his arms were 34 inches and I saw what I was seeing on the football field, I'd still be a little bit concerned at points.
Yeah.
I don't think his technique is as polished as it needs to be. And I do think he has issues using his arms at points. And like, it doesn't matter. Like, it's kind of like a, what do you call it? It goes in order. Like, first, you have to have the physical ability to play. That's why they measure you with the combine, because they think it's relevant. And then you have to have the technical ability to use that. So having long arms doesn't mean you'll be good, because that has no bearing on how well you can use them. But if you have shorter arms, it means there's less margin for error with your technique. You have to be more refined to make up for that in some capacity. And I just don't see that from Campbell. He's still a first-round talent to me. He could learn it. I'm just not there for him as a guy with the number 4 pick.
Which again is totally fine. There are people that I trust and listen to that believe that his lower half and his footwork and his balance are impeccable. And the hard part about the Peter Skoronski comp is that Skoronski didn't play even close to the level of Will Campbell. He wasn't close to the prospect. In my opinion, he was not close to the prospect of Campbell. I don't think he was as good of a player. I
vehemently disagree with that personally, because
I never saw it with him. Never saw it with him on film. I just never saw it.
I was curious about this. I was looking this up at one point, and obviously, like I always say when I mention it, it's PFF, so grain of salt.
Yep.
The 2 best Peter Skoronski seasons by PFF are higher graded than any season that Will Campbell ever had in college. And then also for another data point that I like to use as interesting, it's literally just one, and I prefer consensus boards, but Lance Zierlein, NFL.com, he grades prospects on the same scale every single season, so you can go back and kind of do comparisons. And he had Peter Skoronski graded much higher than he has Will Campbell. And it's just one guy; these aren't infallible. But I did note that as something. And
I will also say it does matter that he played at Northwestern. I'm sorry, that matters. Right?
lower level of competition.
He's not playing near the competition that Will Campbell has played. He's played what,
Well,
12 NFL edge defenders? Like, and again, I don't. We've spent 50 minutes almost talking about Will Campbell. We don't need to do this. We got to get out of here at some point. Like, listen, the argument is the argument. And I personally don't think it disqualifies Will Campbell. Obviously, DeWitt feels very strongly that it does.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine. You can feel that way. The thing is that in 3 years, if Will Campbell is a competent left tackle and is playing well at left tackle, will you admit that you're wrong? Because I'll tell you right now, if he goes in and he can't play left tackle and he plays guard, I'll admit I'm wrong, 100%.
Yeah.
I got no problem with that, right? But some people will argue, no, I was a Campbell guy all along. I knew Campbell was going to be a good left tackle. 100%. Yeah, of course. Like, yeah. He had all the other stuff. Like, fine. That's fine. But, I think we got to, like, and it's also gone to, like, we've also taken it too far where now people say, well, Will Campbell sucks. He's just not good. And, like, that's not true either. Like, it's just not. So, like,
he's a quality prospect to me. I just, I have my issues with him. And, like, I think he does a lot of things well on tape. A lot of this is also through the lens of a top 5 pick. Does he pass block well compared to a second-round tackle? Hell yes.
Right.
Run block well, absolutely. Like, run blocking is the strength of his portfolio, in my opinion. He's given up quite a few pressures in his career. Run blocking has been solid the whole way through, and he's a really good athlete. So he doesn't get talked about this way, but as a tackle, there's almost some Penei Sewell to his game, where he can be a movable piece for you in the running game to lead block. If you want to pull him, you want to move him around on stuff, you want to make sure you can run behind him. He's really good there. I just have questions about, how high the floor is as a pass blocker and how high that ceiling is as a pass blocker.
Right.
Yeah.
So
yeah. One more pick.
One more pick.
Yep. Last pick here. We're going kicker. We're going to Andres Borregales out of Miami. Someone we talked about on here last episode. He made a lot of kicks. He made a high percentage of his kicks in college. Kicker scouts like him and think he's the best guy in this draft, and the Patriots met with him multiple times. So if you need a kicker, I wouldn't necessarily draft one, but if you would like to, I think he makes sense. He might also go before this.
He could.
I saw some places had him rated as he could be a 5th or a 6th round pick. So he might not be here, but I think if he's on the board, I'm okay using my last pick on someone like him or a Ryan Fitzgerald or a Ben Sauls. I think any of those 3 you could kind of pencil in here if you want.
I like it. I think he's probably the best kicker on the board. And if you want a kicker and he's available, take him. Mm-hmm. That's the way I feel about it. But we'll see. But again, that to me at least, it all depends on if the Patriots want to draft a kicker. But if they want to draft a kicker, that's this is one of the guys that I would look at. He's not the only guy I would look at, but he's one of the guys I would look at. And so, I'm down with whatever you want to do there. If you want it to be him, great, do it. If you don't, then don't. I'm cool with that too. So, but I do feel like that he's probably the best kicker. I think Fitzgerald, I think it's close with him and Fitzgerald, but I think he's probably the best kicker. And if he's available, take him. I'm not taking a kicker before the 7th round. I don't think, at least. But that's the way I feel, at least.
Yeah, and I'm not going to pretend to be a kicking expert, so I can't tell you,
right.
The key differences between these guys. All I can tell you is what other people say.
Yeah, and that's all we can really do is rely on other people because we don't know what the hell we're talking about. So, all right, that's it. It was great. That was a great draft, Matt. It was a great draft. Go on Pat's Pulpit, check it out, give him some clicks over there. Maybe throw a comment on there and say something nice about him. So,
and if you're mad at me, get in the comments. I love it.
Yeah,
your hate fuels me. So
absolutely, I love it. All right, let's do an ad read, and then we'll get into our live mock because we're almost at an hour right now, and we haven't even started the live mock yet. So
let's do it.
All right. This of course is for Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action with over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings. Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. As you know, I've been using Prize Picks all year long. I love it. Okay. Springtime's here. Baseball season's officially underway. Don't miss your chance to add your favorite players from the diamond in Prize Picks lineup, whether it's strikeouts, RBIs, first inning runs. Take your pick of more or less for your shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. Now, again, my favorite feature of Prize Picks is that you can mix and match through sports. So you can take a baseball player and you can take a basketball player in playoffs and take a hockey player in the playoffs and mix them all up in your lineup. So that's my favorite part about it. They do also offer Venmo, Apple Pay, and MasterCard and more as well for quick and easy deposits and also withdrawals from your account. What are you going to do? You're going to sign up today. Download the app Prize Picks. Sign up today. Put in the promo code CLNS, and you will get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. You don't have to win, just play. So again, download the app Prize Picks, put in the promo code CLNS, and you're going to get $50 free instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. All right, here we are doing a live mock draft on PFF with trades. Here we go. Let's get it started.
We'll keep the. Do we want to turn the randomness up here?
If you want, maybe a little bit. Sure.
Yeah. Do that. Just for a little fun, because you never know what's going to happen.
Why not?
Yeah.
You know?
All right. We'll start this draft off.
Do it.
Let's pick it for. Oh my God. We may have gone too far with the randomness slider.
Okay. Start it again. Well,
we're gonna
wait. Don't start it again. Wait. Let's just leave it. Let's stay here.
All right.
Because I want to have this conversation. I had this conversation earlier with someone on Twitter. And hold on, let me with Matt Urban on Twitter. And I think that it's a good point. I have 2 Carters on the board at number 4. I think about moving it. I think about trading out of number 4. Number 4 gets more valuable if Abdul Carter's on the board. And his point was such a great point, which is we make the point about Ashton Genty and how one running back doesn't change a team that's struggling. Okay. What about an edge rusher? Does an edge rusher change a team that's struggling? I don't know.
But I want good players.
No. And I'm not saying you don't. But I'm just saying, like, is he better than Ashton Genty? Right? I believe that he is. Right? I believe that he's better than Ashton Genty. I believe he's the second best player in the draft. I would like to take him. I'd like to draft him. But what else is available? What's available if we were to move down from 4?
Yeah. When I think the only team here that I thought was realistic, Atlanta moving up from 15. They need pass rush help.
Yep.
So in a world where Abdul Carter's on the board, you're doing a trade like this. I think if you can, you want a first next year.
Oh yeah,
and
I actually want 46 as well.
I'm not sure if we're gonna get 46. 36% chance of accepting if we get that. Let's see if we throw in, give Atlanta 77 back. What do you think about that right there?
All right, so for those of you that aren't watching, this would be we're trading 4 and 77. Atlanta is giving us back 15, 46, and their first and third rounders next year. I'm on board with that.
Let's do it.
Let's see.
It says a 58% chance of being accepted. Did not get accepted.
What? All right, so let's try. Can we add it? Can we throw in another pick? Or
we could change it from a third to a fourth next year.
I was just thinking that. Third to a fourth.
Yeah. Let's do it. Yep,
accepted. There we go. Okay, so we get 15, 46, Atlanta's first round pick next year and their 4th round pick next year as well. And we're trading 4 and we're sending them back 77, which was the Matthew Judon pick that they sent to us.
All right, so let's jump ahead. So now we pick it at 15. Let's see who
Yep.
goes here. So the guys actually has Atlanta trading up for Will Campbell. This is a little crazy.
Bizarre.
Aldo Carter somehow doesn't go until pick 10 there, which is nuts. There's no way that's how this happened.
We turned up the randomness. We shouldn't have turned up the randomness.
Yes, but let's see. We're in a position we wouldn't usually be in. I think if you're here and you're at 15 and you're New England, what PFF says some of the top guys on the board. You got Jade Barron, the corner from Texas, Walter Nolan, the defensive tackle from Ole Miss, Malachi Starks, the Georgia safety, Will Johnson, the Michigan corner, Luther Burden, Matt Waldman's number 1 wide receiver from Missouri. With a guy I keep coming back to here, looking at this, is Josh Simmons, the tackle from Ohio State, who might be the best pass blocker in this class anyway.
Yeah.
Coming off a knee injury. I think I like this here.
I do too. It's a little bit of a reach. It's a little bit of a maybe not a reach. It's a little bit of a concern because he may not be ready this year. But I don't think that matters. I don't think that should matters. I think we do it. I think we do it.
Yep.
I think you draft Josh Simmons in this spot because you need tackle for the future. And, I'm okay with that. Now, here's the question. Before we, do you want to pause it somewhere around 20-ish, 23, 24, and see if we can move up or no?
If we're getting a tackle here, I wouldn't want to trade up because I think you're going to be able to get 2 quality guys at the top of the second.
All right, fair point.
And I will say the other thing here with Simmons. You're getting a first-round pick next year. You're going to have 2 firsts. Yep. If you blow this tackle pick, you feel a lot better about being able to fix it next year with the capital you'll have.
I definitely agree with that. Yeah. All right, Josh Simmons it is.
Simmons, it's going to jump ahead to 38.
Oh, no.
Wait. Oh, no. We picked a 1-round draft.
Mother of God.
You were looking at it, too.
Oh, come on. All right, do it again. Mother of God.
All right, we'll
turn the randomness down a little bit.
Yeah, we'll go back to where it was. We blew that one.
Yep. All right, let's try it again.
All right.
Take 2.
Well, we turned down the randomness. We still got something bizarre.
All right, we're in the same situation. Let's trade Abdul Carter again and see what happens.
We do the same.
Let's see if we can get the same deal from Atlanta. 15, 46, 1, 4.
That's
wait, hold on. Is it the same thing? Try 3 and just try the 3rd round pick instead of the 4th round pick and see if it's exactly 58 again. All right, so forget it. So go back to.
Yep. We'll do the same trade.
Yep.
Resume draft. And Josh Simmons is on the board, so we can just keep it as.
Hey, all right.
We saved it.
We did it.
All right. 38. We're professionals, I promise.
Oh, brother.
All right. So scrolling through the names available at 38 here. Some of the guys interesting to me. Jaden Higgins, Iowa State wide receiver. Omar Norman Lott and Tyleek Williams and Derek Harmon at defensive tackle. All of those interest me. Donovan Jackson
good corners too.
as a guard.
So many
Maxwell Hairston and Savon Revel as corners.
And what's his name's on the board too at the top? The corner at the top's on the board as well. Isn't there a corner above him? Trey Amos.
Oh, Trey Amos. Yep.
Yeah.
Braden Swinson's here. TJ Sanders. I wouldn't draft him this time, but TJ Sanders here. Elijah Arroyo.
Yeah, we've gone too far. All right.
Yeah, I think curious, well, because sometimes their board's weird. Like Arante Arcery is all the way down here.
Yeah, it's foolish.
Thomas is all the way down here. Yeah, who went? It's my question. Because who I didn't see in there at all was Mason Taylor. Did he go yet? Oh, they have him at 76 on their board.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
All right. If it's me picking. If it was me drafting, I'm taking Jaden Higgins at 38. If he's there at 38, I think the Patriots sprint the pickup and take Jaden Higgins. That's my personal opinion.
I like Higgins a lot. My only concern is that he's not a speed guy.
Right. It's fair.
So he might only be like him at his best might be a souped up Jacoby Myers in terms of role and production. I like him. The other guy I think of here is Donovan Jackson, and that becomes more appealing to me here because you already drafted his teammate, and you got a chance. You
Fair.
know that Simmons and Jackson played well together as a duo at Ohio State. In theory, you can just take that same pairing and put it on the left side of your offensive line, set it and forget it. That is really appealing to me, and Jackson has upside. Our next pick here, though, when do we pick again?
45.
46. Okay.
46, yeah.
Looks like they have Jackson usually going at 45, it looks like. So he might not be on the board. I guess the other part of this is this. I like Jackson a lot, and I like some of the depth at receiver. So if I had to miss out on either Higgins or Jackson, or like if I had to take the next level of that prospect, I'd rather take the next level at receiver, I think.
So here's the other thing that I would argue as well. If we took Jackson here in this spot, then we could take a guy like Jaden. We could take Jaden Higgins if he lasts, or we could even take a lower ranked wide receiver or one of the three corners. I like all three corners that are on the board as well. Like I'd be okay taking a corner at 46 as well, because I think that all three of those guys have high upside.
I also really like the defense
too a lot.
I really like the defensive lineman available here too. Like Omar Norman-Lott is a guy who produced well, and like he's a name we really haven't talked about a lot on this podcast.
Yeah.
But like his pass rush, it's crazy for an interior guy, and I could see that being a very high quality pick here at the top of the second round. It's kind of he just fell to us, so we'll take it and go.
Listen, I'd be okay with that. I'd be okay with Norman Lott as well. Either way, it's so funny because he's ranked 27th and his ADP is 52. Because people that are doing mocks don't know about him. He's not like a flashy name. You know what I mean?
That, and it's also the way need's going to factor into it.
True. Fair. So
curious what people. I know we have some. What do you call it? Some. Oh my God, Donovan Jackson fans in the chat. I don't know if anybody's rooting for anybody else in here.
Yeah, a few people said Higgins, but
I kind of think Norman Lott just might be the best player on the board, and we take it and hope one of the other guys is there at 46.
Let's do it, and then we choose between. We see if either Higgins or Jackson drops to 46, and if not, we take a corner.
Yeah. All right, so Norman Lott's the pick. Let's see. Neither got picked.
Okay.
So we are in a very good spot there. Jaden Higgins and Donovan Jackson.
Yeah. So if Jackson is the pick for you, I mean, look at all the corner depth. Oh my Lord, dude.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Dude, and we forgot about Benjamin Morrison's on the board too. It's crazy.
Yeah. Which is like, to me, almost like I don't. It's part of me that's like we should trade back here.
Well, yeah.
There's a lot of Higgins guys in the chat. Let's see what the trade offers would be.
Yeah, let's just see. Let's see how far we would have to move back. Where's the Texans say 58?
58. That's 12 picks. I think that's. I mean, let's see what that trade would look like if we're doing this.
Yeah, no. Well, I guess maybe if it was 89, I guess. But like, is that worth it?
I wouldn't. Like I wouldn't want that.
No, that doesn't do anything for me.
Well, they have.
Unless you get a second rounder instead, like the trade.
I wouldn't do that trade. I would take someone here.
No, there's no point. There's no point in doing that.
People in the chat really like Jaden Higgins, so I think we should go with that pick.
Yeah, that's who I would pick. That's the spot that I would go with, and then you take a guard a little bit later on in the draft.
Yeah, I'm down. All right. Jaden Higgins at 46. And now we're on the pick. Yeah, we're on the clock at pick 69.
How is Morrison still on the board? What is going on, dude?
Yeah. Let's see how Donovan Jackson ended up going at 52 to Seattle. I think he might have just visited there.
Nursery went all the way at 67. That's crazy.
So we've got Benjamin Morrison, Kevin Winston, Demetrius Knight, Olu Oladejo, Jalen Royals, Andrew Makuba. Jalen Royals here would be fun, but we already take a receiver.
So much, dude. Yeah.
Yeah. If you think Tate Ratledge can play left guard, Ratledge to me is someone who's interesting here.
Yep.
Jalen Noel still on the board. We can keep the Iowa State
Both Iowa
duo.
State guys again. I love it.
I kind of love that idea.
I mean, we do have another pick in 8.
No.
Oh no, we traded it. Never mind. Never mind.
And Mason Taylor's here. So
yeah,
I like Noel, I like Taylor, I like Ratledge, I like Makuba, I like Royals, I like Oladejo, which to me says straight back.
If we're gonna take if we were gonna take another receiver, I would rather take Jalen Royals in my opinion over
Royals guy.
Noel. Yeah.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean anything. All right, let's see what the trades look like.
So the Jets are there, and that's just 4 picks back. What do we get for that?
Probably not much.
We can get like one. If we gave up 69 and 171, we could probably also get 110. And that's only moving back 4 picks plus that 5th. And you move that 5th up 61 spots.
Yeah, I don't mind that. And we have a ton of guys that we like on the board right now. So I kind of feel like I got no problem moving back, and then we can kind of let the board decide for us what's going to happen, because only 4 guys going to get taken. So I'm on the board with that. I'm on board with that, I should say.
Trade accepted. So we're going to move back 4 spots. Oh my God, it has them moving up for Jackson Dart.
Unbelievable.
Which there's no way he's on the board here still.
No. And Morrison just went too.
Yeah.
So a lot taken in those 4. So it was Jackson Dart, Benjamin Morrison,
Demetrius Knight, Jordan Birch. So Oladejo is still here. Royals, Makuba, Tate Ratledge.
So it's the same 4 guys, the same guys that we wanted are still on the board. Yeah.
Is there anyone? So we have a couple in the chat saying we should take Mason Taylor here.
Yep.
We don't have an edge. We didn't take an edge yet, right?
We did. We took. Oh well, I guess he's not an edge. We took a D tackle.
Yeah. These are our picks for those who are just jumping in.
I do like Oladejo in the spot too.
Yeah, that could be fun. Yeah. So much talent on the board here.
Kevin Winston's a really good player, but I worry about Winston is the athleticism. I worry that he has the athleticism that's necessary.
Yeah. And I can't take a safety here with the other talent on the board.
I agree with you. Yeah, I agree with you. And I'd rather Makuba anyways, if that's the case. But yeah, I mean, listen, I'd be okay with Taylor. I'd be okay with Ratledge. I'd be okay with Oladejo. I'd be okay with really any of the receivers. If you told me you wanted to take Jalen Royals, Kyle Williams, or Jalen Noel, I'd be okay with that too.
The ones in the chat, we're seeing a lot of Oladejo. We're seeing a lot of Taylor. I have a coin here. You can flip it.
Do it. Love it. Let's do it.
Heads for offense, tails for defense here.
Beautiful.
All right. We got defense.
Oladejo it is. All right.
And then next pick is going to be at 106.
Yep.
Kyle Williams still on the board here.
What in the world is going on?
Yeah. Their board is so weird.
It's just bizarre, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, that's my guy, Isaac Tesla. Love that guy so much.
So Kyle Williams still here. Damian Martinez, the running back. Ashton Gallot, Harold Finn Jr., Van Jones, Dorian Strong. I mean, I think we'd probably want to go offense with the talent here.
You would think.
I like Torrey Horton a lot, but I wouldn't take him after also taking Higgins.
I agree with you.
Sanker,
and it's tough, and it's hard with Tesla's kind of the same way. He's a big-bodied guy. He's faster. He's super fast, but that he's going to be playing basically the same position.
Yeah.
Gunnar Helm, if you're into that kind of thing, yeah.
He to me, especially with the combine performance, which was partially due to injury, is like the discount version of Mason Taylor.
Yeah,
I think I kind of like that in this range. I'm just not a big Harold Finn Jr. guy.
Me neither.
I don't like his game.
I do
New
think
England.
with only 4 picks in between, I think that we could um, plan to take Gunnar Helm at 110 instead and do something different with this pick.
That's true. So who would
I don't
be?
know if Seth McLaughlin will be a guy that we want. I don't know if we want to go guard. What do they have for guard? If you want to just search like interior offensive lineman, what do they even have?
Seth McLaughlin, Willie Lampkin, Luke Candra. So we're deep into that
Yeah,
next
I love
tier,
Luke
guys.
Kander, but not at 106.
Yeah, I'd rather wait until
Yeah.
I'd take a Dylan Fairchild later here at this point.
Yeah,
Since who's on the board. Yeah.
Yeah, all these guys are later round picks. So
Yeah. I'm fine waiting on that.
listen, I'd be okay with if you wanted to take Kyle. I mean, Kyle Williams seems unrealistic, but I'd take Kyle Williams here. Why not?
Yeah, I think he's just a good player, man.
Take Kyle Williams,
and they met with him.
What do you say?
They met with him a couple times. So we get Williams and Helm here and just add some pass catchers.
So I'd be okay with Kyle Williams and then see if Helm drops to 110 and then take him.
Let's do that. All right, so Williams here at 106. Yeah, Gunnar Helm still going to be on the board here.
Yep, perfect.
So that'll be 110.
Love it.
So we're getting some pass catchers. 144. Tesla still here. Jim Mickens, Trevor Etienne, who they just had in for a visit.
Yes, they did.
Seth McLaughlin. We've talked a lot about Seth McLaughlin on this pod. Trevor Etienne is someone we really haven't. And the fact that they brought him in for a visit, we know they want to add speed at the running back position. I'm immediately really leaning towards him here.
Yeah, I actually think it makes a ton of sense to do that.
Yeah.
So
Let's do it.
Yeah, I think we do it. Let's do it.
Yeah. Etienne at 144. I think 171 is. Oh, I think we gave that up.
I think we did, right? So we're at what, 220?
Yeah,
I think
220.
How the hell is Ty Robinson on the board? What's going on? What are these people doing?
He's weird because he tested well, right? Really well.
Yeah, and he's a good player. I don't understand. I love Andrew
I think
Armstrong,
Jalen Travis intrigues me as a swing tackle here too.
Yeah,
from Iowa State. He's got some real size to him. Played well. Yeah, I think at this point, I'd be between Ty Robinson and Jalen Travis personally.
I love Ty Robinson. I'm a big fan of him. So
let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it. And then I like Jackson Slater in the 7th. A little bit later. I feel like he's a tackle convert, I suppose, but we didn't draft a guard. Yeah. I don't know if he lasted, to be honest with you, but
no, he went.
No, he went right afterwards. Okay. So
yeah. Travis is like a true tackle. He's huge. If you want that, that's interesting. Let's see what else. More running backs. We don't need that. Smelmond still on the board. I like him at linebacker. I don't think there's any chance he's still on the board at this point in the actual draft.
Well, listen, if you like Travis, let's just do it. I'm down with that.
All right.
I don't think it. I would like to take a guard, but what's the point of taking a guard if you know what I mean? I do like Zoff Frazier as well, but small school guy, but
yeah. But Travis is I think he has, in theory, the traits to be at least a really high quality swing tackle. And
and in the 7th round, when you need offensive line depth, yes, we didn't draft a guard, but so what? We see what happens, and then if those guys can, can do something for you, I think that's great.
Yeah. So the final draft for those listening at home, Abdul Carter on the board at 4. Falcons decide they want to move up for him. Patriots trade back from 4 to 15. They include 77 in that, and they get back 15, 46 in a 1st and a 4th next year. Get Josh Simmons at 15, defensive lineman Omar Norman-Lott at 38, wide receiver Jaden Higgins at 46. They trade back a couple picks from 69 to 73 and move up from the 5th to the 4th with a later pick in exchange for that. You get Oladeja, the pass rusher from UCLA at 73. Kyle Williams, the wide receiver at 106. Gunnar Helm, the tight end at 110. the pick that they got back in the trade back before. Running back Trevor Etienne at 144, defensive tackle Ty Robinson at 220, and offensive tackle Jalen Travis at 238.
That's so good. And I'll tell you, if you go back, right, if you go back to the top, I mean, you're talking about trading number 4 and 77, but 4 and 77 for Josh Simmons, Jaden Higgins, and a first round and a fourth round pick next year. Like that is, and again, they haven't played a snap yet, so we don't know. That feels like a steal. And then, to trade back a few spots and get Femi Oladejo and Gunnar Helm in that trade with the Jets feels like a really nice trade too. So, we'll see, and we'll see kind of where it comes from. Listen, I don't know. Obviously, we'll see what happens with Josh Simmons, right? And that kind of things depend on what happens in the first round. If you hit on this first round pick, even if it takes a year or two, if you hit on this first round pick and when we hit on our 2 second round picks, now all of a sudden we're looking at it saying, okay, we feel really good about what we did here,
Yeah. Well, I think Nikhil in the chat's like how this is more of a depth draft, a lot more red chip than blue chip type guys. I agree. And I think that might be the way to approach it, given how weak this class is at the top. If you can get a trade, get that first rounder next year, that first rounder next year can be a blue chip talent that you're drafting. That can also be a trade. That's something we've seen. The Patriots have tried to be active on the trade market. You're looking for a wide receiver. One of the reasons they haven't been able to make trades is that they can't give up their draft picks because they don't have enough of them, or the ones at the top are so valuable, you're just not going to get the return on it that you'd want.
Right.
Well, if you got 2 first rounders, first of all, you can package them together to move up in the first if you really want to go after someone, or you can trade one of them for a veteran and use the other one. You can move around the draft board with them. You can just draft 2 quality players. It gives you a lot of freedom there. So I would be a huge fan. If you can, in this class, if you can move back and get a high pick next year, I'm a huge fan of that.
I totally agree. Yeah. So we'll see what happens. All right, we have. Don't forget to save that, please, so we can. Do you want to do your ad read, and then we have just like I wanted to talk about one.
We only have the one ad
game
read.
Time. I thought we had the game time ad read this week. Did we not?
Did we?
I'm almost positive that we had a game time ad read as well this week.
I thought we didn't have the prize picks, so I'm not sure.
We definitely had the prize picks, and I'm pretty sure that we had the game time as well.
Okay. I don't know if the emails are sending to me correctly then.
No?
I didn't get anything about it today. So
okay. From Monday. Game time, of course, it's not loading, because why would it load? Game time runs next week. Game time runs this week. Yep. All right, I can do it if you want me to.
If you have it in front of you, yeah. Let's do that real quick.
I don't know what's going on. I don't know why my phone isn't working. It's really frustrating. For some reason, my it's just not working, which is just really annoying. And I don't know why.
Let me pull it up then. I think I have it.
Oh, hold on. I got it ready.
Okay.
I got it ready. All right.
Riveting podcasting here.
This is, is what happens behind the scenes. This is what happens when we go live,
Show business, baby.
Yeah, that's right, baby. All right. So this ad, of course, is for game time. Okay. And again, as I mentioned before, I mentioned this earlier in the week, I've had experiences with other places. They don't work. Okay. And sometimes they do, of course, but I've had some really negative experiences. We don't want that to be the case. Okay. Now, listen, do you want to go see the Celtics? Celtics are playing in the playoffs Sunday and Wednesday. Wednesday night in the door, $162. What? $162? By the way, it's all in pricing on Game Time. I'm sorry. I just went down to 2 tickets. How about $156 to get in the door? $156 for a playoff game? Come on now. And it's a Celtics playoff game? Unbelievable. Once again, Game Time, remember, all-in pricing on Game Time. That means they're not hitting you with the hidden fees. They're not, whoa, these tickets are $72 a piece, but we're going to throw in $50 of fees on top. Nope, that's not what they're doing. They're going to give you the price that you are going to pay. Okay? And so that's exactly what they do. I just bought some tickets on Game Time as well. Tell my daughter about that this week. That'll be fun. But all-in pricing is a huge thing. The views from your seat are great. You can see what the view looks like from your seat. Okay? Gives you a panoramic view. You're able to like zoom in a little bit if you want to. That's really nice. And they have the lowest price guaranteed as well. Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference if you can find a cheaper ticket than them. And they have the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time. All right. One more thing that I wanted to ask you about. The Giants. On the clock at 3. I think we all know Cam Ward's going number 1, right? He has Calvin Ridley and Treylon Burks as his number 3 and number 4 overall players in the NFL. Feel like that's pretty much a done deal. Okay, no one's saying that that Calvin Ridley's better than AJ Brown, except for someone that knows they're being drafted by the what's it called by the Titans. So fine, okay. I assume that Hunter's going to go number 2 to Cleveland. That's not as official.
I mean, they're, what do you call it?
But it feels like
GM compared him to Shohei Ohtani, I think today or yesterday.
Yes. Kind of feels like
if you're comparing someone to Shohei Ohtani, then you're not picking them on the spot. You should be fired.
That's 100%. I agree with you. So that's all but a done deal. So the question now is the Giants at 3. And I've been thinking more about this with the Giants at 3. The real question that I have with the Giants, they have 4 good players on their roster. 4. It's Malik Neighbors, and then it's 3 defensive linemen. So you're looking at it saying, okay, we have 3 defensive linemen. We traded for Brian Burns, signed him to a big-time deal. We drafted Kayvon Thibodeau, and they've had Dexter Lawrence. It feels like forever, but if you have those 3 guys, do you then spend the number 3 overall pick on another player that plays the same position? When you have a coach and a GM that are both on the hot seat, and Nelson points it out here, like they need to protect their jobs, right? And I get saying that Carter's the best player available. I understand that. You have depth at that position. It's the one place the Giants have depth. They have depth nowhere else. Their team sucks except for that position. So it's like, now are you taking a 3rd player at edge defender? I don't know if they will. And Matt makes a good point too. Like, what if they trade down and a team trades up to get Carter? And I think that's definitely a possibility. The question is, would the Patriots move up to 3 to take up to a Carter? I don't think they would, but would they?
No.
Probably not.
I think Carter's better than Kayvon Thibodeau. Like, I don't.
Well, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. I'm not saying that. You're not wrong about that. I do think that Carter would be an upgrade for them at that position. But where you have guys that are NFL caliber players at that position, and you can address other positions, and you're worried about your job, as you should be, are you more inclined to take the quarterback instead? I don't know.
I don't think the quarterback's that good. I think you're fired if you take the quarterback because he's not going to save your job. So you might as well take someone else and hope that it works.
Maybe you're right. Listen, and maybe you're right. Right. But again, I just wonder. That's all. That's what I've been thinking about this week is, will they draft Shedeur just because the only place they have depth is D-line? They have 3 good players on defensive line. Now, again,
Well, I don't know. As we all learned from the Super Bowl, like, you can't have too much depth on the defensive line. Like,
I agree with that. I do agree with that. Yes. And listen, you're not wrong. I just think that's the one thing that's been kind of rattling around in my brain this week is like, does it make sense for the Giants to draft him? I think it does.
Yeah,
but will they look at it and say, you know what? We got to we got to swing here. And we swing by taking, a quarterback.
I think that would be a very bad decision.
Yeah. And maybe it will be. Maybe it will be.
Look, I hope that they make a bad decision, but I just don't.
Yeah.
Like, I think anyone who looks at this class says there's one really good quarterback and then 2 really good players, and those are the guys who should go off the board first. I think everyone on the outside has felt that way since January. It was just a matter of would teams actually feel that way about the quarterback. It feels like they do. Like, I don't feel like Shedur's a lock to be the second quarterback taken. I don't think Shedur's a lock to be the third quarterback taken.
That's a fair point.
Like, I don't if we're talking about a quarterback here for the Giants, are we talking about Shedeur or are we talking about someone else? They're meeting with Shedeur. They're meeting with a number of quarterbacks. So, but yeah, I think they're more likely to take Mason Graham here than they are to take one of those Like, they might be more likely to take a quarterback than to take Mason Graham, but they're probably more likely to take Mason Graham than any specific one of those with the outside info we know right now. And
I understand.
Obviously, and Abdul Carter's still going to be on the board. So I think Carter's just the pick, and it's going to be what it is.
Should be. I think he should be. But, again, that's just some of the trying to get inside the mind of those guys over there where, again, not only are they worried about taking the best pick or taking the best player, but they're also worried about what is going to more than likely save my job. Is it more than likely that I'm going to draft an edge defender who's going to be a good player? But what is that going to do to my team? How is that going to make my team more marketable? How is that going to make my team that much better? Right?
Well, I think.
And it might.
Well, if Carter's just like obviously good his first year, and now you have an elite defensive line,
right.
I think that saves you. It gives you the chance to draft the quarterback. Because if you go to them and say, hey, we don't like the quarterback, we're just going to take someone else, and then the guy you picked turns out to be good, they're going to say, okay, well, he's good at this. We're going to let him go pick a quarterback now.
Right. They certainly might. They certainly might.
Yeah.
That would be.
At least I think a rational organization would do that.
Well, not the Giants are rational, but yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. So, also, one quick note. My dad texted me, pointed out that Rob Gronkowski would be very upset with us after that mock draft because we did trade pick 69, and he has explicitly said the Patriots cannot trade pick 69. And so we did. Sorry, Gronk, but what are you gonna do? So, anyways, that's what we got. That's all we got today. We're gonna be back on Monday night. Our last show before the draft.
And we'll have a special guest for that one.
We will. And
someone well known in Patriots drafts Twitter.
And I think my mock draft I'm gonna try to get my mock draft out for Tuesday morning. So maybe we can run through the mock a little bit quickly as well. We'll do a little quicker than we did tonight. But we'll run through the mock quickly on Tuesday night or Monday night, I should say. So. All right, thanks for coming out. We appreciate you people. The chat was blowing up, and we appreciate the conversation in the chat. And got a little out of hand for a bit, but you guys wrangled it back in. We appreciate that. So always love talking Pats with everyone. Thank you so much for coming out, and we will talk to you soon. Be good to each other, and go Pats.